Hello, everyone. Welcome to our channel once again. Today, we have an amazing guest called Bryan. He is the founder of Quantum Fitness, and he is a human performance specialist with focus on breath work. He has immense experience in changing people's life through our breath. So, welcome, Bryan, to the channel. We would love to have your introduction and about your work as we start.
Oh, thank you, you beautiful souls, for inviting me on here because you're doing such beautiful work. The world needs people like you. And I'm really grateful that you asked me to be a part of your YouTube channel. It really means a lot to me. Thank you. um, well, I try to put myself out online and be as open as I can. So as enlightened as I might seem now, I wasn't always like that. I grew up in the Bronx in the 1970s, and it was a bad time in New York City. The city was broke. There was crime and murders everywhere in the city. It was not an easy place to grow up. And I grew up with a single mother, and she smoked her whole pregnancy, and she didn't breastfeed me. So in terms of what I do now through breath work, I realized that at that moment, that most crucial moment of life, I wasn't given what I really needed. That was a strong facial structure from suckling on her breast. And because she smoked, she was already giving me toxins. So growing up my whole life, I was always sick, always at the doctor. Now I know, like you guys, through detoxification, that meant I was a healthy individual, and my body was always trying to get rid of the acids of breathing in her smoke and also eating a lot of processed foods, especially back then, right? The worst foods you could possibly put in a child's body, I was eating. And then as I got to high school, I was always an athlete, but I started wrestling. So when you're wrestling, you're bent over. You're bent over and you never really breathe well. So I'm relating all of this to breathing, and I'll get to the food part too. But so when I started wrestling, I was already mouth breathing. I was already set up to be a dysfunctional breather. And then I started wrestling, and then it was like, well, how big and strong can I get? And I'm only 5'6", but I had an ability to have really big muscles. So at a very young age, I started weight training, which no young adolescent should do, is weight train, because it makes you stiffer. It makes you emotionally more closed off, because now you're all about your body. And I always was gifted by God with a really good physique. So I grew up identifying with my body instead of what I had to give to the world. So that lasted with me for years and years. So all through college, I wrestled. I was a heavy carnivore because back then you were taught that you needed protein to survive, to have big muscles, to be a good athlete. So I was eating protein, breakfast, lunch, dinner, like 5 times a day. And I became a personal trainer. I've been a personal trainer for about 33 years. And October next month is my 5-year anniversary of being a breathwork coach. But it wasn't until I became a breathwork coach that I actually found the freedom, or wait, I shouldn't even say that, because the first year and a half of breathwork was really difficult. Mm-hmm. So I became a breathwork coach 5 years ago, but I was overcoming debilitating issues. I had irritable bowel syndrome. I had insomnia. For 20 years, I had insomnia, which meant I never felt good. But being an athlete, I pushed through the bad feelings. Once you get going, start drinking coffee during the day, then you're eating stimulating foods like dairy, grains, and meat. And then at 39, I started to really break down. I tore my biceps tendon. I had 2 herniated discs in my back, and I just turned 53. So 14 years ago, everything started to go really wrong in my body. Not to the point where a doctor would say you have diabetes or you have chronic fatigue syndrome. I'd go to a physical and they would tell me I'm in good shape. So I thought I was in good shape, but yet all of these other issues that a Chinese medicine practitioner would know, that a a holistic chiropractor would know. Now we have functional medicine doctors. They would be more apt to be able to tell you. But back then, nobody could tell you anything. So when I hurt my back, I was debilitated. I mean, I had no choice. I had to work. I had to train people to survive. So I was going to work every day in agony, and I didn't want to get operated on. My son's stepfather happens to be a top orthopedic surgeon, and he told me guys like you who have that kind of MRI of what your back is saying are begging me to operate. But even back then, this was when I was starting to wake up. I realized that, wait a minute, if my discs are soft tissue, why would I need to have surgery? Why would you need to get rid of the disc and fuse my bones when it's soft tissue? Because if a starfish loses a leg, it grows back. If you take out a person's half of their liver, when they have liver dysfunction, they take their liver out, the liver grows back. And we're told that only the liver can do that. That doesn't make any sense. So I started to realize, wait, if you can, because I knew somebody, a father who had liver disease. So I said, if your liver can grow back, then you could grow back everything. So for 2.5 years, I anguished in pain because I couldn't find the right person to help me. And then I finally found the Thomas Myers School. It's called Anatomy Trains. Thomas Myers is an Ida Rolf protege from like 45 years ago. Ida Rolf wrote the first structural integration book in the world. And I started working with a body worker. And after 6 months, she said to me, well, you should see Dr. Zev, because I was still in a lot of pain. I was really, really not feeling well. Now, I was looking at it as structural. Back then, I wasn't even thinking about my digestion. I wasn't even thinking about my colon. If my lower back is hurting me and my knees are hurting me and my hips are hurting me, now I know it's my colon, right? Now I know it's my kidneys. But back then I didn't. So then she introduced me to this chiropractor who is a network chiropractor. He does total body modification through applied kinesiology. And I started seeing him, and about 1.5 years into the journey, my back was still in agony. And we were on the table one day and I was sitting up and he said, turn to your right. And I was like this. He held up my hand and my arm went right down. Applied kinesiology means when you're talking to the person's body, if you push on the body, if you ask it a question and the body stays strong, then that means that the nervous system is strong to the question. It believes in it. It's affirmed. It's got a left and right brain coherence. But if the muscle goes weak, then there's a discrepancy in your brain, in your subconscious. Forget about your body. It's in your subconscious, everything. It's terrible to tell somebody, well, you have cancer, you thought it. Yeah. But it is it, because it's the subconscious traumas that we live our lives that we never release. Like Dr. Dispenza says, I don't care what happened. All I care about is transmuting the energy of the emotion, right? So that one day on his table, I turned to my right, he came back, he looked at my liver, he said, put your hand on your liver, put your hand here, and he read me this most beautiful affirmation. And he read it for like 5 minutes. It was like a page long. And then he said, just sit there. And he went, he walked around because he had other tables. That's what network chiropractic is. So your energy is feeding the whole room. And I sat there for 5 minutes and he came back and he said, okay, turn to your right. And I went like this. And I looked at him. Wow. And I went, oh my God, because I didn't think about it. And I turned to my right and I was like this. He goes, hold up your arm. And I was strong. And I was like, yeah, like I screamed in the room, because just like that, I had no more pain. Wow. And I was like, what did you do? He said, I didn't do anything. He said, it's the trauma you lived with your mother. He goes, and it comes up all the time, but you weren't ready for it. And today you were ready for it. And from that moment on, I dove in deep. From that moment on, I've walked the path that I'm supposed to be walking. But I was vegan. I had turned vegan, but I wasn't raw vegan because I didn't know anything about it. So then I started breath work 5 years ago. And I feel that the breath work, what the breath work that I teach, it helps you to restore your blood chemistry, which is all that matters, is that your blood chemistry is neutral, not acid, not alkaline. They say alkaline, but they mean slightly alkaline. So once my blood chemistry started to become more alkaline, I started to look for higher and better things. And then I found Dr. Sebi on YouTube, right? So these things just kind of came to me because I attracted them because I was hitting higher frequencies and I was bringing in higher information. And then I found Dr. Morse. So I started researching Dr. Morse and watching every single one of his videos, like all day. And I went into my acupuncturist and I told him that I was going to become a fruitarian. And this is 4 years ago, just past August. And well, I've been a fruitarian for 3 years, 7 months, but I started with my acupuncturist 4 years ago. And he told me that now I'd already been on the journey for 6 years. And only 4 years ago, he listened to my pulses, he looked at my tongue, and very nicely, and I'm paraphrasing it, but basically what he said to me is, guys with your dysfunction have a heart attack in your 60s and die. And I was like, say that again? Like, and I'm looking at myself and I'm like, how could I be that unhealthy? Look at me. But again, that was an egoic way of looking at myself. I had no idea that I had organs that could actually go bad. I thought as long as I was lean, it meant I was healthy, right? But being as lean as I was, not being able to gain weight meant I was never really absorbing my nutrients. So I had acidosis in my kidneys and my kidneys weren't eliminating, which caused me to be in massive adrenal fatigue my whole life. And my acupuncturist, who's a Qigong Chinese master, said it started in childhood. And I remember I told you my childhood wasn't so good. I didn't even go that deep, but I had a really bad childhood. It was very difficult. So that immediately created dysfunction in my body. So I told him I was going to go fruitarian. He said, I don't think you should do that. And I said, why, Dr. Ming? And he said, because you need protein. You work out a lot. I said, Dr. Ming, I don't eat protein. I've already been vegan for like 5 years. And he said, oh, well, eat more. So he didn't really believe in it because in Chinese medicine, they do all the elements of life. So they say, have a little, if your body needs to, have a little fish, have a little meat, right? So they believe that that's okay if you do it in small doses. So I said, well, I'm going to try this diet, which was the mucus-free diet. I read Professor Spirit's book, the mucus-free
Mucusless,
style.
mucus, yeah,
The
mucusless
mucus,
diet healing system.
yes, mucusless diet healing system. And I started the journey and I go to the acupuncturist every week. So every week he was saying, you're getting better. And after 4 weeks, he said, wow, you're changing rapidly. This diet's working for you. You should stay on it and forget what I said, which I liked because he was okay with it. And then 8 months passed and he said to me, Bryan, what you've done with your body is nothing short of remarkable. I've never seen anything like it. Not only have you reversed all of your kidney damage, but you're now strengthening your primordial chi energy. He said, and that's impossible. I've never seen it before. So then COVID happened in Manhattan. We got shut down really quickly. And I got to be on my diet even more because you couldn't go anywhere. So I was eating nothing but fruit, even in the dead of winter. And then I went back to him 9 months later, and he said, you've gotten better. Your kidneys are doing amazing. I no longer had night sweats. I no longer had insomnia. And I started to regrow my hair. I was bald. I still got it's still a little thin, but I mean, I was bald, but my hair has grown back. It's become thicker. It's like amazing. I also, my secret ingredient is even though I'm on fruit, I've been on marine phytoplankton for your listeners and users. I've been on marine phytoplankton for 6.5 years. It's not a supplement. It's a food. Marine phytoplankton has all the building blocks of life. It's got all the essential amino acids, which make the perfect proteins. It's got all the essential fats, all of the vitamins, and almost all of the minerals. So when you take a food like that, it feeds your hypothalamus gland, which is the conductor to God's symphony. So here I am. I've been talking for a long time, but here I am at this point in time, and I'm still not perfectly healthy because my kidneys and my liver still need rebuilding, but they're not dysfunctional anymore. And now I'll never have a heart attack in my 60s and die. So now the goal is to see how long I can live eating nothing but fruits, berries, and melons. And it's Concord grape season in New York. So Concord grapes are like the most detoxifying grape. So I'm juicing them because the seeds are very tough to chew. So I'm juicing them, and I'm going to stay on this for as long as I can, which is hopefully at least 2 more weeks. And then I'm going to, which I've never done, I'm going to do 40 days. So Dr. Morse says 40 days. So I'm going to continue with grapes for 40 days. And I'm going to see how much more I can detox my body and continue to regenerate. I call it youthing. Yeah,
Amazing.
I hashtag that youthing. So if you guys have any questions, let me know.
Well, that was a very inspiring story, very, very inspiring. And I'm sure everyone else who's watching is inspired as well, that how much a body can regenerate. As you said, we are like starfish. We can regenerate so much. And the power of this regeneration also lies in our subconscious mind. So we can push it. Like push is probably not the right word, but we can allow it to grow so
Yeah.
beautifully if we just have people like you who are spreading that, there's so much that we can do from our lives and how much we can heal and elevate.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So I would
Yeah.
allow Eustace to.
So I have a question. So you've been on this lifestyle for 4 years, basically like fruit lifestyle, right? So
Here's
did you
7.
have any like detox symptoms in beginning? What would like because you were talking about night sweats and things like that you had from before as well. Were these kind of symptoms like elevating like in the beginning when you switched switch your diet, or you didn't have such a harsh detox in the beginning?
Well, I was already on the breathwork journey for a year and a half before the fruit. So I did a lot of detoxing during the breathwork journey. I had bouts of diarrhea. I had hives break out on my body twice all over my body, because as you rebalance your blood chemistry, the acids have to go out. So they came out through my skin. They came out through my bowels. I've also done Cambo 10 times. You know, the Amazonian frog?
Yes.
So I've never really experienced massive detox with my fruit journey, even in 3 years and 7 months, but I experienced it during Cambo. So during Cambo, I've really expelled a lot of the mucus and the bile in my body. And like I said, I've done it 10 times. I'm getting ready to do it again because I live in New York. So I breathe in pollution. So I got to do it every 6 months. So for me, the fruit, I never really experienced a detoxification response that was severe. It was always more, because the first 6 months I did a lot of transitioning. Well, not a lot. I ate fruit all day long. And then at night, I would make myself guacamole with herbs and I'd put it on a raw vegetable wrap. So for 6 months, that's how I ate every day. I'd eat fruit and then I'd finish with guacamole and the vegetable wrap. That was my transition. I needed to transition.
Definitely.
And then all of a sudden I started not to want avocado anymore. And now I could live on fruit and feel really, really good. But I just learned, even after everything I've done, 10 rounds of Cambo, being on a fruit, I sent my hair sample and my nails sample to a man on the West Coast of America who's specializing in parasites. And lo and behold, Bryan has parasites in his colon. I have pinworms. Now, here's a very interesting fact about me is that I have an iridologist in New York City who's been doing it for 30 years. He's this incredible Jewish man. His presence is on another level. He looked in my eye. The first thing he said to me is, wow, you've done a lot of healing. And that was a year ago. So I was like, well, that's good. So he told me some really good things and they said, okay, are you ready? And I said, yes. So he looks in my right eye and he goes, you never met your father? And I said, what? He said, did your father abandon you? And I said, how do you know that? Because that stress and trauma subconsciously shows up in your iris. And then it'll create a blockage and a stagnation in your lymphatic system. It shows in your body. And then he looked in my left eye and he said, oh, you didn't have a very good relationship with your mother either, did you? And I said, no, not at all. So I had both parent issues. And then he said to me, everything that I told you, he knew from looking in my eyes. He knew about my night sweats. He knew about my kidneys, my liver, any place I had pain in my body, he told me. And then he said, your transverse colon is impacted. So even though I'm a master breathing instructor for the Oxygen Advantage, and I practice my breathing every day, I'm not the Buddha. I'm not Yogananda. I'm not on that level. I'm working towards it. And I can feel that when I breathe in, there's still restrictions in my body, which I also know is in my subconscious first. However, now that I found that I have parasites, I feel like that is huge because I have these entities living inside of me that could also be altering my subconscious. So I have, the kid is coming. I should be getting the kid any day, any moment, hopefully today. And I have to do it for 2 months. So during this 2 months, I'm going to eat nothing but fruits, berries, and melons, hopefully just grapes. I'm going to get these parasites out of my body. And then I'm hoping to have one of those aha moments, which I've had a couple in my life, where all of a sudden everything shifts. And I had it 3 months ago on my acupuncturist table. I went into samadhi. I disappeared and I was in samadhi, but yet I knew where I was, but I wasn't me. And everywhere he put the needle was exactly where I was intentionally sending him to put the needle. That was the first time I realized how gifted he was, that he could read my energy. And then as I was coming home, I'm walking down Broadway, very busy street in New York, and I'm looking at the buildings and I'm like, oh my God, everything's so beautiful. And I was so present in life. And then all of a sudden, there was like a shade came down past my eyes. Now, when I was growing up, we had these old black and white TVs. And when you couldn't get good reception, the screen would fall. You'd see a bar in the middle of the screen and the screen would fall. Then you'd have to fix the bunny ears. Well, that happened in front of my face. This is only 3 months ago. It went like this, dip. And all of a sudden my body went, and I was like, what just happened? And I said, holy shit, I just got rid of anxiety. But before that, I thought I felt great. You don't know how good you don't feel. And I definitely tell that to my students, you don't know how good you don't feel until you hit that new marker, till you jump over that fence. And I just had that 3 months ago. So now that I learned I have parasites, I feel like it's only, bound to happen again when I clean these bugs out of my body, that I'm going to have another one of those moments where all of a sudden I get more open. My frequency raises, my brain waves slow down. I clear the subconscious traumas from my brain, and then I can move forward in life. And I could have these parasites for years. Cambo didn't clean them. The fruit hasn't cleaned them yet. Now I need extra help. So I'm glad to have known that.
Wow.
Amazing, amazing.
Wow.
When we were in Vietnam, both me and Kartika actually, like on our 60-day juice cleanse, also we got rid of some parasites. One, like for me, it was different than for Kartika. My parasites were quite big. It was around 1 foot long, and that was as thick as a cigarette. You can imagine as thick as a cigarette, like one long worm. It was dead already. It came out like it was around, I think around day 45 or 50. I don't remember exactly, of that juice cleanse. And like it was solid bowel movement that came out, quite a lot. And then in between that, it was like it was right there. It was like crazy to have that experience. So it's
Well, can I ask you a question? How did you know? Do you always look in the toilet
yeah,
bowl? I
yes.
always looked. I wanted to know.
Exactly. No, it's very for us, like, like especially when you do that cleansing and everything, you keep on wondering. You're not consuming anything solid, only drinking the juices, and then there is still solid things coming out. So it's like that, like, you're wondering what is there, like. And one thing, for example, I can also tell you, more than like one year and 3 months back, around 15, 16 months ago, I was consuming raw food, but I was eating these spicy masalas, basically, like, these powders, right? Like, and I would make basically what you call like a mixture. Like, I would cut chilies, onions, garlics, add some these masalas, and add some lemon juice or some vinegar, and then mix it together. And then I would eat that with cashews or with coconut, basically, in the evening as for dinner. And what happened that just like, around 2 weeks back, I had a bowel movement that was smelling exactly like that thing that I was eating like more than 16 months ago. So like, these powders and everything, they get stuck inside of us, and then they like they're not our body is not able to process them because they're like dry spices.
Yeah, they're residue. They leave residue.
Yeah, exactly. And it was coming out exactly the same way that it was like, it was coming in. So like, it goes inside, stays inside, and then like, it's creates basically all of these problems as well for us, because it's like such a burning thing. And also another thing is that if you were consuming the spicy foods, what is happening that also that, like, when you're having these bowel movements, sometimes it's burning. Like, where it's coming out, it's like burning. It feels
That's
like a bit like
yeah.
yeah, like a glass kind of thing, or something like that that's coming out. It's like,
Well,
it's
it's also
really crazy.
sulfur, because
Sulfur.
we've all been given shots in our early hood, and there's sulfur in every medication you've ever taken. There's sulfur. So
Yes, yes,
sulfur
yes, yes.
burns when it comes out.
They're correct, correct. And also another thing, what about chlorine? Did you have any experience of like, kind of chlorine cleansing? Because I had the experience of like, from my nose, the mucus coming out, it was feeling exactly like swimming pool, When I was 9 to 10 years old, I was going to swimming pool like, almost every day. And then like, just recently, I was having like blowing out my nose with mucus, and that mucus was like, exactly like chlorine, like, basically like that smell and taste like chlorine. Did you have something like that also, or do you know anything like how say
Yeah,
that?
in the first year of my breath work, I had a lot of mucus coming out of my nose, but not since I've been fruit. My nose is fully open. It's never blocked. I'm never congested, but fruit hasn't done that for me, but breath work did.
Yes, yes, yes. Amazing, amazing. No, but breath work is, yeah, it's truly amazing. I myself also have started around like, a year back with more like, doing like continuously breath work. And for me, it's like also one of my favorite practices is full yogic breath. What would be like, for you, what would be your go to how to say daily breath work practice?
Great question. Well, I believe in teaching the basics, which is how you came out breathing. So to teach somebody breathing without teaching them how to breathe low, slow, and deep, which means effortless, is not teaching the right way. So there are a lot of breathing techniques out there, and they all have merit. But we do something in the Oxygen Advantage. We test people's carbon dioxide threshold. So if we test somebody's threshold and we know that it's low, which almost everybody I've ever worked with, except so in 5 years I've been teaching breathing, I've only met one good breather. One. That's it. Everybody else was breathing very poorly. And that includes yogis. I've trained many yogis who have not, they're like, wow. So what we do is we test what's called your controlled pause. It's your body oxygen level test. And it's a very simple test. You take a silent normal breath in, you take a silent normal breath out, and you pause your breath. You're not holding it to hold it. You pause it. And you're waiting to see what the first sign to breathe is. And when you have that sign to breathe, you let go. And when you let go, you should feel like you were not holding your breath, which means you paused your breath. So with that time, you can determine how acidic or alkaline someone's blood is. And with that determination, you can then write up a breathing prescription for that person. So that's what I do. I assess people all the time online, and then I give them breathing protocols to do for the month. But so my breathing would be to breathe no more than 6 breaths per minute. And if I was going to do an activating breathing technique, it would only be something like breath holding. I would never be doing any kind of full inhale breaths. I don't believe in that because no animal on the planet does it. It might be taught, it might have been taught for years, but I don't know that it's necessary. What's necessary is to get our controlled pause up to a level of 60 seconds. And this work had been done by Konstantin Buteyko, who was a Russian scientist in the 60s and 70s behind the Iron Curtain. And he's the godfather of pulmonology. So he took this law called the oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve. It's the law of cellular respiration. Now, hundreds of years ago, when people were doing these techniques and maybe taking in that full pranayama breath, they were already breathing well. In this day and age, they're not. Now, you could feel good taking in, because I know in pranayama, they say, fill the belly, fill the thorax, fill the clavicular, but I would say never do that, because I could give you science on why you don't want to take in a full breath, because you don't do that. You don't breathe that way. So you shouldn't breathe outside of your functional capacity. So the threshold test is based off of this physiological law. So that's a law of cellular respiration. I should show you right now. I'll show you really quickly. I can show you your listeners quick without spending too much time. So this is a very simple diagram because I'm not a very good drawer. If this is my lungs, right? It says the word lungs.
Yes.
This long line is my capillary. A capillary is only 1 cell thick. So as I breathe air in, this little circle is the alveoli at the bottom of my lungs, my lung tissue, where I have gas exchange. So carbon dioxide comes out. And I say that first because the neural drive to breathe is not to inhale, it's to exhale. You're alive to exhale. You have to remove the waste before you can bring in energy. Just like Professor Ehret said, his life equation, vitality equals power minus obstructions, because we're an air gas engine. So as the oxygen comes into my lung, carbon dioxide leaves, oxygen comes in. So now oxygen is in the capillary and it needs a carrier. It can't be soluble in your body. Only 2% of all the available oxygen is soluble. That means 98% of it is bound inside the red blood cell. So oxygen's in here. I'm superimposing a red blood cell, RBC. So now when oxygen goes in the red blood cell, it needs a carrier around the body. That carrier is a hemoglobin molecule, Hg. And hemoglobin has a heavy iron atom. So each red cell is an oxygen cell, and each hemoglobin holds on to 4 oxygen molecules. That's why iron is so important for humans. So now, how do I get the hemoglobin and the oxygen to disassociate from one another? That's the law. Oxygen, hemoglobin, disassociation. Remember, it's a law. It's not a theory. It's a scientific law, which means it's going to be a law forever. Right? I say that to people because people don't know this, and everybody needs to know this. So now, the only way to get oxygen liberated from hemoglobin is in the presence of CO2. But we're taught that CO2 is a waste gas. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. CO2 is produced by every single cell in your body. It's called metabolism. So when I breathe out, I don't breathe out and push all the air out. That's not how I breathe. I breathe out to my functional residual capacity, which means there's still air left in my lungs. That air left in my lungs is carbon dioxide. I need carbon dioxide to survive. So in the presence of carbon dioxide goes inside the red blood cell and it signals hemoglobin to release oxygen. And then the oxygen is now free. We call that soluble oxygen. So now it's in circulation. And now that newly soluble oxygen is free to go to all the organs and tissues. And the great thing about your body is it's not going to send it to a cell that already has oxygen. It's only going to send it to a cell that's deficient in oxygen. So we're not dehydrated, we're oxidatively starved. If there's no oxygen in the cell, it's gonna shrivel up and it's gonna hold on to waste. So when the oxygen gets in the cell, it wakes up the cell, it goes into the mitochondria makes energy, and then the cell produces waste. That waste has to go out into the system, which you guys know is your lymphatic system. But it takes 4 days for you to get out. That's why detoxing is very prevalent, because it takes 4 days for you to produce the waste, for you to get it out of your body. So if I don't have carbon dioxide, let's say I hyperventilate, let's say I do holotropic breathing. Now, I know people feel good from this. It doesn't mean it's good for you. And I train a lot of yogis who have done pranayama, and then when I teach them breath, they realize that they didn't know how good they didn't feel, because they all have control pauses under 20 seconds. And they go, holy shit, are you kidding me? I've been teaching breathing wrong. And I'm like, well, don't look at it as wrong. Look at it as something you can improve upon. Just new information. It's not wrong, because the breath itself makes you feel good. If you return to your breath, it always makes you feel better. Like I've helped a lot of Kundalini practitioners, they're breath of fire, but you can't teach somebody breath of fire who's already breathing dysfunctionally. You're creating more dysfunction. You're traumatizing the airway. The masters, they knew this, but they knew it because they were meditating all day. They knew that they were supposed to breathe low, slow, and deep. And they were already perfecting their breath, which then led them to try, well, let me see if I can breathe faster. Maybe I can alter my state of consciousness. But when they returned to the perfect breath, whereas we don't have that. The world has a breathing disorder. We've masked people for 2.5 years. We've stifled them from breathing. We've stifled them from living. You can't live that way. You don't even protect your body that way. So you need carbon dioxide in your body to liberate oxygen. And then the oxygen is going to get to all the available cells. So that's how I've been able to regenerate my kidneys and my organs. I believe I've done it through breath first, and then fruit has been cleaning me out. It's been removing the obstructions, which has given me greater power and more vitality, right? That's how I see it, through Eret's work, through breath work, and living the best life you can live by being present, by being blissful, by not being aggravated, by not getting aggravated. I don't even get aggravated anymore. It's crazy. I feel like really peaceful all the time, because if something stressful happens, it's like, okay, well, that stress is there. And now I have to find a solution for it, instead of being like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? Right now, there's more of a strategy of, well, now how do I find a solution for that? Because I have to live. So I don't have to live stressfully. And it took me a long time to get there. But I don't know if I've completely arrived, but I'm closing in. Because my goal is to have a Kundalini experience, to open my spine, to have a fully free functional spine. And I know now that getting the parasites out are going to go a long way in getting to that level. So that was a long-winded question for your breath question, long-winded answer, but that's how it works in the body.
So how do you breathe low? What do you mean by breathing low?
Low means, so we're taught to belly breathe. You hear that all the time. You want to belly breathe. You don't want to belly breathe. Your diaphragm breathes for you, not your belly. What you want to do is you want to breathe horizontally. So that means that your lateral ribs should expand. Your ribs should spread apart when you breathe. So when you breathe in, your ribs widen, they laterally expand. When you exhale, your ribs narrow. You don't push any air ever. You don't breathe in air. You allow the body to breathe itself. You don't breathe for the body. So when people are doing even holotropic breathing, breathing in for 8 and out for 8, well, they're also distorting their breathing mechanics and they're lowering their threshold of carbon dioxide, but they don't know that. They feel good, but I've had people feel even better. So what you should breathe is when you breathe in, you breathe through your nose, always, never through the mouth. And when you breathe in through the nose, you breathe low into the body, literally into your pelvic region, because you have a pelvic diaphragm. So you want to feel your breath all the way down at your anus. You want to bring the breath low into your body. And when you do that, if you have an open nose, as the air enters your body slowly, it filters with nitric oxide, which is also the Nobel Prize from 1998. So by having an open nose and breathing in slowly, you produce more nitric oxide. And it's the nitric oxide that allows the gas exchange to take place at a higher level. So when you breathe slow and low, you uptake oxygen. And then the nitric oxide takes the blood from the lower lobes of the lungs and it flushes it to the entire lobe of the lung. So if you breathe in for 8 and out for 8, you're over breathing. You're not getting that nitric oxide and you're not retaining the CO2. So you're losing the ability to activate the alveoli at the top of the lung, which is a triangle. Low, slow, deep breathing takes the blood, gets it to the entire surface of the lung. Therefore, I can pull more of the oxygen that comes into my body and I can get it into my bloodstream. So that's what we call LSD breathing, not the drug, low, slow, deep breathing. And that's by breathing 4 seconds in and 6 seconds out. The 10-second breath is the perfect breath, and they've done science on that. You know, they say 5 and 5, but I always feel that I should be giving back more to the universe than taking. So I breathe in for 4 and I exhale slowly for 6. So if you exhale slowly for 6 and you can do that well, then you're breathing pretty well. If you have trouble exhaling for 6, that means you have a low threshold of carbon dioxide. So as soon as you exhale, you need to inhale. That's over breathing. So you feel like as soon as I let go of my exhale, I have to breathe in. That's when people start to feel out of breath, things like that, which people feel all the time. They don't even know that it's a problem. They just feel it without doing anything about it, because you go to the doctor and they don't test your airway. They don't look at your breath. So it's not in people's purview. They don't know about the breath. They just think, well, I'm breathing as I'm supposed to be breathing, but you need to be taught how to breathe. You need to be taught how to breathe, because like I said, I've only met one good breather.
Yes, good breathing is not taught in school as well. So not much really is taught in school, actually.
Good. I'm glad you said that.
Let's not even get into that. It's like where we are, if we start getting into school, it's all brainwashing.
Yes.
Well, that's a different
We'll
topic.
get that right with you if you want. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
as I get from the conversation now, if anyone wants to start breathing properly, they need to do LSD, the not the drug, but what you suggested, and do it 4 and 6. So that's the beginning for anyone who wants to start breathing well. And as
Yeah.
you said, they
Let
take
let me tell you that though. So if a person has trouble breathing out for 6, if it's really hard for them, they can go 3 in and 3 out for a week. Then when they can master that comfortably, because people do have trouble breathing like that. So then they can go 4 in and 4 out for a week, master that. Then they can go 5 in and 5 out for a week and master that, and then 4 and out for 6. So some people need a little bit of a process, a stepping stool. So yeah,
And
but
this is
that's your go-to breath.
okay. And this is like in seconds you were saying, right? 4
Yes.
seconds and 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
it's
this is
one breath every 10 seconds, which is
okay.
only 6 breaths a minute. We're taught that 9 to 12, 9 to 15 breaths is normal. It's not normal. It's irregular.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely, definitely. And so you don't suggest to be holding breath basically, like no, you as soon as like no the breath goes in, it should be coming out as well, right? Like or there is some kind of like no a break between the inhale and exhale.
Only on the exhale. If you can find a natural pause, then that's amazing. You're breathing very well.
Yes, yes.
What we do is I teach people how to do exhaled breath holding exercises. They're called hypercapnic exercises. So if somebody's having a hard time with it, we make them do hold their breath 5 seconds on, 15 seconds off, do that for 3 minutes. And that helps to capture carbon dioxide, and it helps to enable the diaphragm to breathe low, slow, and deep. So there are definitely a lot of exercises that help you to get to that state of breathing in for 4, but never pausing on the inhale, because there's no reason to. That's a sympathetic hold. It creates hypertension and stress. So I know there's box breathing. You don't want to hold your breath on the inhale. So you breathe in for 4. It's like a wave. You see the wave running up the beach. It looks like it stops, but it never really stops. So that as the breath comes in, it might feel like a pause, but it's not. And then as you exhale slowly, if you can find your natural pause, beautiful. If there's a natural pause, I mean, Yogananda breathed 1 breath a minute. He obviously, Ramana Maharshi. I mean, Ramana Maharshi didn't even like to talk. He didn't even want to teach, because he felt as soon as he spoke, the teachings were already perturbed. It wasn't natural.
Yes, 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 yes. Amazing, amazing. I've been also, I just read, actually, just today I finished reading a book called Breath, according to your recommendations. And on your website, I found, I think it's one of the first books on the website. And it's really amazing as well. But of course, in that book also, I found that there is still, how to say, there were some things like really useful, but some things were not, how to say, you had to like really choose the information like carefully as well. And yeah. And so you were saying also that like because from like yogic readings or like books from yogi masters, I could find out that like as well that the less breaths you have, or like the slower you breathe, the longer you live basically. And similar like in animals as well. So like turtles or like elephants, they will be breathing slower, and they will basically they will save their breaths. But let's say dogs or cats, they will live much shorter, and they will be panting a lot, right? So you also found out about that. And is it like do you also practice reducing the amount of breaths that you have throughout the day?
Well, that's a great question too. And you're right. Dogs live very short lives because they breathe 7 breaths a second. That's why they're always anxious. Cats live longer usually, but so yeah, I mean, well, that's my goal, is to breathe 6 breaths a minute every minute of my life. So that would be fine. You could breathe even slower. That's possible with training, but we also do an exercise that we call breathing light. So why don't you guys do it? Sit up nice and tall for me. And let me take you through this exercise. Okay, so close your eyes and just observe your breath as it enters and leaves your nose. Focus on the airflow as it moves in and out of your nose. Feel the slightly colder air enter your nose, and feel the slightly warmer air leaving your nose. Really concentrate on the air as it enters and leaves your nose. Use this as a measure of concentration. For how long can you hold your attention on your breath before your mind wanders? If you notice the mind wandering a lot, this exercise will considerably help you improve your concentration. Bring your attention onto your breathing. It's normal for the mind to wander. As soon as you notice the mind wandering, bring your attention back to your breathing. You may feel your chest move up and down. You may feel your belly move in and out. But at this point, don't try to adjust anything. Just simply become aware of your breathing. When you're able to follow your breathing, take a slow breath in through the nose and allow a slow, gentle, relaxed breath out. Slow down the speed of air as it enters and leaves your nose. Breathe in a slow and gentle manner. Breathing should be so light, quiet, and still. Slow down your breathing so that you feel hardly any air entering and leaving your nostrils. I'm going to say that again. Slow down your breathing so that you feel hardly any air entering and leaving your nostrils. If you feel your breath becoming chaotic or you feel anxious, stop. But otherwise, continue to slow down your breathing. Your breathing should be so quiet that the fine nose hairs within your nostrils don't move. Your breathing should be so light that there's hardly any turbulence inside of your nose. At the top of the inhale, bring a feeling of total relaxation to your body and allow a slow, soft, relaxed breath out. The air should leave your body slowly and effortlessly. It's very important not to consciously interfere with your breathing muscles. So if you squeeze your belly at all, relax. Don't interfere with your breathing. The goal is to feel a slight want or hunger for air. It's the feeling that you would like to take a bigger breath, but you don't. Once again, take a slow breath in, almost as if you are not breathing. As you breathe out, bring a feeling of relaxation to the body, allowing the air to leave the body effortlessly. So it's a slow breath in, and it's a relaxed breath out. By taking a slower breath in and allowing a relaxed breath out, carbon dioxide accumulates in your blood, and this creates a feeling that you would like to take in more air. This is valuable feedback that you are performing the exercise correctly and allowing the air to leave the body effortlessly. A slow breath in and a relaxed breath out. So, as you do this, you will feel a peace and calm come over your body because you're normalizing your breathing volume. So if you are breathing hard throughout the day or over breathing, this exercise called breathing light is very valuable into helping you to normalize your breathing volume. So it teaches your respiratory center that you don't need to take in a lot of air, and you're feeling that. The fact that you're taking in very little air allows you to feel peaceful because carbon dioxide is accumulating and it's liberating oxygen, which is getting to your cerebral cortex, your prefrontal cortex, your higher brain. And it's allowing those lower chakras to not rule your life. The chakras related to desire, to sexual proclivation, to overeating, to stimulation of alcohol and cigarettes. So through the breath, we activate the higher brain. Now, we don't breathe like this all the time. This is a technique to normalize your breathing volume, which is what you asked me. All the time you want to breathe in 4 and then 6 out. When you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes and come back
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
I feel I've been trying to control my breath a bit too much sometimes also. That's I think another issue that we're trying to have control over everything, and we don't allow our bodies sometimes to really to do its thing, to or like no to we- rather we don't follow what is our body is telling us as well. And because in the morning I would do like qigong. I do a qigong every morning, and when I do qigong as well, I kind of like breathe out completely, like like push my entire air as much as I can, and then I could have this kind of feeling as if like I'm almost like not fainting, but like in my head it's like it kind of comes up like it's like it's very interesting feeling. Probably you or you know about this as well, and it's I feel that like yeah I was not allowing my body to really just breathe naturally by itself. Yes, and I think that's the another thing that we get. Do you think is it like taught more, or is it because of the stress in society? How did we lose this ability to breathe and listen to our bodies?
Well, immediately we were jabbed when we were kids. They gave us 16 different cocktails. So that
Oh,
immediately
yeah.
created dysfunction in the body because it's not natural. You put metals in the body and the body is going to overreact, inflammatory. That's going to create a dysfunctional breathing mechanic. And then when we were sitting in kindergarten here in America, when you're 5 years old, you're already sitting still. And that creates this kind of posture. So now I'm
Yeah.
never going to breathe well. So it's going to create subluxations in my spine. And then if I've faced any kind of shame or guilt or trauma, then I'm going to be holding my breath because I'm going to be trying to protect myself. And if it's social pressures and I need to feel skinny, then I'm going to hold my belly in so I can have a six pack. I can have a small waist, which means I'm not breathing, because ideally I should be able to let my belly go and be okay with having a pooched belly, because that's a nice soft belly that I can breathe into. I think a lot of things have, the game of telephone. I tell you something in your ear, then you tell Kartika, and then she tells something else. And by the time it gets to the 10th person, it's not exactly what I said. Well,
Yes.
I look at statues of the Buddha, not that statue, but the fat Buddha. And I know that a lot of people say, well, the fat Buddha represents wealth and the fact that, they're happy, but I don't really think that's what it is. I believe that it's a full, low, slow, deep breath. I believe that that belly is the expansion of breath because he didn't get enlightened without being a perfect breather. It's always about your breath. So that big belly is the representation of taking in a full, low, slow, deep breath. But full doesn't mean pulling as much air into your body. When you breathe in slower, you actually get more air into your body if you stop breathing in more. And that's a physiological response too.
Yes.
I get if you take 12 breaths and you half it in 6, you can double your breathing volume by taking in less breaths. And that's scientifically proven. So I do believe that somehow in the game of telephone, people started to teach it, and then they continue to teach it that way, but I don't really believe that. So I'm teaching people to breathe as effortlessly as possible, including during exercise. So during exercise, I'm teaching athletes to breathe less hard than they ever breathed before. I always want to breathe less hard. I don't want to take in more air than I need. It just doesn't make sense. Why would you take in more than you need when no animal does it? No animal goes, you don't see that. It doesn't happen. You don't see kids do that. You don't see kids taking big breaths. You see them taking low, slow, deep breaths.
Uh,
So it
you
gets
can see
stuck when you
animals
don't.
also exhaling more, like cows and like in the book Breath also I read that how like the bull exhales, like the more it exhales, the more energy it has. So it also has to do with carbon dioxide, right? Like so that like we are able, there is more ability for us to absorb the oxygen that we are getting in. So it's also in the same way, like let's say when people are eating as well, it's like eating more is also not gonna give you more energy. So in the same way, like breathing more also, it's not gonna give you more energy.
Right. Yeah. So start doing your qigong and maybe try doing it, breathing in for 4 and out for 6 the whole time. And don't deviate from that script. Try that for at least a week.
Yes.
Don't
Yeah,
do the air.
I'll give it a try.
Do 4 in and 6 out and see how that goes. Because
Yes,
that will be bringing more energy into your body in the form of oxygen by not breathing out as much.
Oh, yes.
As soon as you breathe out, you force air out, you're squeezing your muscles. And that's not what you want to do when you're breathing. You don't want to have any activation, any stiffening.
Yes. I just actually, when you think about it, yes, it's a waste of energy probably as well. Like you're tensing your muscles for no reason really. Like being relaxed, it's also gonna keep us out of the fight or flight mode as well. So I think it makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. And
Awesome.
what about meditation? During meditation and this practice, do you do different breathing, or do you also try to maintain the same kind of breathing?
Yeah, during meditation, then I would do air hunger, what I just did with you. I would be trying to slow my breath down to a crawl.
Yes. This is amazing. This is amazing.
Yeah, it was really nice when you said that, breathe in very light, like it was almost like it was just energy going in and no air, it just like the density like became so soft. It was really nice.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
you
my
felt
body, go ahead.
now you felt the pranic energy, right?
Yeah.
There's 2 types, there's 2 versions of prana. One is that you're bringing air into your body, which is for your circulation, and the other one is energy into your nervous system. And that energy we can't see, but it's there.
Yeah, exactly. I exactly know, because these days actually I'm becoming more and more aware of that, this energy that you're talking about, pranic energy, just like with pure love, whenever I feel it. And also the food, of course, is like helping for sure. It's like just like cleaning up all the energies. But the meditations that I do, and then there is this, yeah, you pointed it out, right? And thank you so much for pointing it out, because it becomes more clear for me now that what is it that I'm experiencing. So I'm very grateful for that. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and also like my body just like, wow, it's like always every time you do it, releases so much. It's like, woof. In between, I was just like went a little bit like this.
Yeah, it's the oxygen is relaxation. Well, it's the carbon dioxide and the nitric oxide that when you inhale is relaxing your veins, arteries, and lymph. So it signals your endothelial tissue to let go, and then there's less pressure. So the veins open wider. And when you have a wider vein, more blood gets in, which means more oxygen, but there's less internal pressure. And right at our carotid artery and on top of our aorta, we have things called baroreceptors. So the body is sensing how it's breathing, and how it's breathing, it's going to send messages to the brain. And Stanford in 2017 found that there's a part of the brain called the locus coeruleus, and it spies on your breathing. So if I'm breathing hard, it's going to send feelings to the midbrain, and it's going to tell me I'm in fight or flight, even if I'm at work, right? People could be at work and, they're in fight or flight because they're not focused, they're not present. And then if I'm breathing low, slow, and deep, and I have bigger veins and arteries, there's less internal pressure. So now the locus coeruleus sends messages to the midbrain, which is your central brain, of feelings of peacefulness and bliss. And this is what all my students experience within 2 weeks. Now, they don't become a good breather in 2 weeks, but within 2 weeks, they're all like, wow, why aren't we being taught this? And that's just breathing in 4 and out for 6. It's
Wow.
peaceful. You want to be peaceful, but you want to breathe like that even when you're walking. Or you want to breathe as close to 6 breaths per minute as you can all the time, except of course, if you're moving faster, you need more air in your body. It's going to speed your breathing up. but the idea is always to still breathe less hard.
Yes, yes,
Wow.
definitely, definitely. That's amazing. It's
Well,
amazing.
this is really beautiful. Yeah, very mind-opening.
Yes.
Very amazing.
I'm glad you really enjoy it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's nothing, I'm just facilitating the information. This has been thousands of years, right? We're just bringing back what nature gave us, which is the ability to breathe low, slow, and deep, right?
Yeah.
The matrix has us all in fight or flight. The matrix is designed to keep you stimulated, right? On your phone, it's designed to keep you stimulated. Now, I just met a man, he's a student of mine, and he lives in the mountains of New Mexico, and he was telling me about breatharians, and he's known of a lot. And
Yes.
and he's like, these people aren't on Instagram. They're
Oh,
not telling people about their journey. Maybe some are, but
yes.
for the most part, they're not out there trying to be part of the world. They're already living
Without.
their best lives. They don't need to share this.
Yeah. Yeah. This is
Some,
something.
their purpose. Why did you point to him?
No, no. I pointed out to your thing, whatever you were saying, because we are actually we right now we're on this journey where we're connecting with a lot of breatharians all around the world, and
Oh
then
my
there's
God.
yeah, there is this pranic family where they're also conducting conferences and webinar, and we are following their meditations. And the next
Oh,
question I was,
you have to tell me about that.
yeah, yeah,
Whoa.
the next question I was gonna ask you about was this only, and then you said it yourself. So there is Elitom who's there, and I just interviewed Jerome Shaw, who's like a what do you call it, a student from Elitom, and
Yes.
I've known like a lot of people who have kind of worked learned under him. And then there is another one called Jasmuheen. She's also doing it. There is
My client
Rakhi.
told me about.
Yes,
Yeah. Just
Jasmuheen. Yeah,
me. Yes.
yeah. And then
Yeah, she
there's
wrote lots of books, and she's like really, really like spiritual and
amazing,
yeah.
amazing.
So like Elitom is more in the physical kind of like what you call a physical body,
Yeah.
and
Mesomorph. That's
and
his path.
yes,
Yes,
yes, yes.
yeah,
And just Magin is much more into like a spiritual path, and she's been since she was a child, she was already like very connected and doing lots of meditations and practices and everything, and she's connecting with she's able to connect with other ascended masters and everything, right? So like you probably as well read the Yogananda's autobiography of a yogi, which also I read, and it's like when you read about what is his name, Babaji.
Babaji. Yeah.
Babaji, it's like it's amazing, and
So
it is
Jasmine has been she says that she's been communicating with Babaji, and they have been like doing a lot of work together. Like, you must definitely go check out her channel. You will love it. Love the
yes, yes,
expression that you say. And then her work is, of course, also to reach out to more and more people. And these people have been giving lots of webinars for people to
Oh,
uh,
that's great. I'm glad to
initiation.
hear that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Jasmukin is
Wow.
also doing darkroom therapy. So she goes in for I think around 8 or 9 days into the dark rooms, and she's providing all this also for people as well.
I've
And
heard of
during that time, mostly she says that she provides only fresh juices for people only to have it at that time, to keep the diet very, very, very light. And 98% of the people who are going for these they have really amazing experiences. It's like similar to yogi going into a cave and just meditating because your senses are not stimulated, right? You're completely out in the darkness, and you're there with other people as well, but it's you cannot see anything, and you just have to
Yeah.
go within so much. So you go into meditations and everything. So that's really, really powerful. And yeah, and yeah, I myself also I'm trying to go towards being more of the Breatharian, so to speak, as well. And I've been also, before I was consuming a huge amount of food. When I was first started with raw foods, I would consume around 3,000 to 4,000 calories in a day. Right now, I it went down to 1,000 calories, 1,200 calories. So now on juices only, I'm having like, one meal in a day, and I'm having like, quite a bit in one meal still, like, 4 liters, 3
Okay.
liters to 4 liters, which is like around a gallon in American standards. So, and that is like already for me, like, I feel sometimes if I have a bit more than 4 liters, I feel like, it's too much, right? Like, so I'm reducing it and reducing it, uh, and also doing all of these practices as well, breathing practices and meditation, qigong, spending time in nature, all of these things. It's very, very powerful as well. So it's
Amazing. Good for you.
yeah, it's amazing, amazing. And I know yourself as well because I watched your other interviews where you talk about as well, like, a man's higher consciousness book as well, and Breatharians and everything as well. So but you're correct. Most of the Breatharians will not be on social media. Most of the Breatharians will not find very easily. There are few of them like Jasmine and Nelitom who are
Their path is to like basically share with the masses so that a lot
yeah.
of us can move towards it. Yeah. I
Right.
will definitely I'll share the link for both of them. I'm sure you'll love it. I'm sure
Yeah.
you'll get hooked to it.
Yes.
It's so
Def-
beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
The stories that she's talking about and her experiences, like with the interdimensional beings and how she's working with them to like bring to earth what do you call it? Embassy of peace. And then she's
Mm.
like working with, it's so beautiful. It's like amazing.
Yes, yes,
Well,
yes.
it's so funny. I mean, I just met this man, Richard, 5 days ago. He told me about Jasmine, who I've never heard of, and now, so that's a
Yeah.
synchronicity. That means that I've also manifested that now into my own vibration, and that's what I'm talking about. This is how it
Certainly.
happened.
Yes, yes, yes.
Certainly. That
Beautiful people turn me on to it.
oh my God. You're also giving us so much. And like the just the conversation, that the pranic energy, it had to like kind of go in that direction for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Yes.
definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
Mm.
that's great.
Do you have time for a few more questions?
Sure, sure.
Awesome. So I wanted to ask about also exercise because
Mm.
I also believe that like pushing yourself too hard is not a healthy thing as well. So in terms of health, what is the best thing you could recommend for me, for anyone else like who's interested in basically working out, like how much effort to put in, how much time to put in, and things like that.
Yeah, well, I love you coming up with some great questions because I've been an athlete my whole life and I pushed myself my whole life. And that's why I have dysfunction
Mhm.
because I was in adrenal fatigue from over breathing from exercise, breathing through the mouth, because no one ever taught us, first of all, to breathe through your nose. And then, second of all, even if you're breathing through your nose, if you're breathing too hard and too fast, it's still not good for you. So, what I tell people to do, what I tell my students to do is when they're exercising, especially in the first 4 months, if you can't breathe through your nose while you're exercising, then you need to slow down or you need to stop completely until you recover your nose breathing. So that's number one, is you have to perfect being able to breathe through your nose while you're training. Now, when you're training, you need to be able to breathe at a level that doesn't allow you to get into a state of over breathing. Because as soon as you start to over breathe, you're creating lactic acid in your body. Your body is removing carbon dioxide, which is lowering and creating an affinity between oxygen and hemoglobin, which means the body becomes more acid. So when it becomes more acid, then you're creating lactic acid in your body. And then your muscles are going to start to shut down. However, we're taught to push past that. If you want to become a better athlete or a better exerciser, you need to push past that level of pain. And that's not true. But it took me 49 years to figure that out. Now I realize it. So when I'm exercising and I'm breathing, I want to push myself as hard as I can to that precipice of still being able to control my breathing, but yet it's slightly difficult. So I allow myself to get to that point, but not past that point, because that means I've gone lactic. And then the lactic acid has to go somewhere because I can't get rid of it. So it's going to go in the tissues. And then if it goes in the tissues, I'm going to be oxygen starved. I'm going to be holding on to waste, and I'm not going to be getting better. In fact, I'm going to probably suffer from performance anxiety. I'm going to suffer from needing to sleep after my workout, which means I did it too hard, right? I remember the days where I would throw up, where I would need to lie down after my workout. That's way too hard. So, what do animals do? Do animals work out? No, they play. They play and they gain body awareness through play, right? But we think we're supposed to work out. I want to be more like a farmer. If I have to do a hard days of work, maybe it's too hard, but I want to be more like a farmer where I'm moving things around and I'm using my whole body. I'm not standing there and doing curls. I'm not doing a squatting movement. I'm doing something that's actually life values and movements that I need to do in my life, like standing and then squatting, right? Up and down things, types of movement, not doing hypertrophy type exercises. I mean, I might look really muscular, but I'm only 144 pounds. And I used to be 165, 170 when I was at my biggest, because I was a power lifter. I squatted 622 pounds. That's like at least 320 kilos. No, it's more like 300 kilos.
Yeah.
And I put that on my neck, right? I put that on my neck and I destroyed my spine. I compressed my whole spine. So people that are doing that don't realize that. Even if it's that light, the bar doesn't need to be on your back. You're compressing your spine. You're stifling yourself from breathing. So my advice would be, number one, learn to breathe through your nose the whole time. Never open your mouth. And then number two, when you get to that point in the workout where you can't control your breathing, you're done. It might be 20 minutes, but you don't need to work out for an hour. If it's only 20 minutes, go with the 20 minutes, because tomorrow it might be 22. And then if you're breathing through your nose and you're controlling your breathing every day, it might be a little longer. And then that's how you can get stronger, bigger, faster, whatever that is. But I don't care about things like that anymore. I just care about being as healthy as possible.
Yeah, definitely. Of course. It should, I would say also, if you feel good while you're doing the workout, that's what you need to follow mostly. The good feeling.
But some people feel good pushing themselves, because that's how they're consciously trained.
Yes, correct.
Some people feel
Sometimes,
good breathing. It's not really meaning it's good for you.
Correct. Now it's sometimes it requires some reprogramming and having some different reference points as well, right? So trying things in different ways as well. And
What would you say about dancing as a workout?
Yeah, again, you're moving your body through space. Dancing is the most beautiful expression of movement. Sure, I love dancing. Yeah, I would be dancing, but my mouth would never open.
Yes, I agree with that. I know how mouth breathing is like, it's a dirty habit. So I myself also like make sure all the time that I'm breathing through the nose. And if sometimes because of my still some cleansing and some mucus coming out, and sometimes at night it blocks up, and then I wake up and they have my mouth open, it's like, oh no, that's the worst.
Well, if your nose blocks up, this is a really good technique. It's called the nose unblocking technique. So every time we do an exercise, we take a silent normal breath in and a silent normal breath out. We never hold our breath on the inhale. So we breathe out and then we bob our head. When you have a medium reaction to breathe, you let go. When you let go, you inhale slowly and exhale effortlessly. And then you wait 20 to 30 seconds in between. Do it 6 times. So do you want me to take you through it?
Yeah, sure.
First, both of you block your nostril. Don't push, just cover the flow of air. And I want you to see how you're breathing out of each nostril. I just want you to feel how open or blocked it feels. Do you feel restriction out of one side? Then we're gonna do the exercise. Right, so now you know, because when you do breathe through both, you might go, well, I don't notice anything. But when you block one, you're like, oh boy, that side's blocked. right?
Yeah, the what you call it, nadi breathing, no?
Yeah, well,
Alternate,
yeah.
alternate nostril breathing.
I found my phone. It was on top of the couch. So now I'm going to time you. So because you're both doing it together. So bring your hands down. So I'm going to say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're going to exhale and you're going to bob your head for 15 seconds. Normally it's a medium response to breathe, but because it's two of you and you might be different, I'm only going to let you do it for 15 seconds. When you get to 15 seconds and you let go, you're going to inhale as slowly as you can and exhale effortlessly. If either one of you have a hard time, before I say stop, then let go yourself. You might need to let go at 10 seconds. But we'll try 12 on the first one. So we're going to do this 6 times. Okay, ready?
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, pinch and hold. Bob your head. 5, 8, 10, 12, 14. Release your nose. Now inhale as slowly as you can. Inhale slowly. Exhale effortlessly. Find that effortlessness in your breath in between. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Five, 10, 12, 13, 14. Release your nose. Inhale softly. Exhale effortlessly. And in between, just find the gentleness of your breath. We're never forcing. 3, 2, 1, go. Number 3. Ten, 12, 13, 14. Release your nose. A slow breath in, a relaxed breath out. A slow breath in, a relaxed breath out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Number 4. 10, 12, 14, 15. Release your nose. Slow breath in, taking that nitric oxide that's been building up while you're doing the bobs and bringing it deep into your lungs, letting your diaphragm actively pull the air deep into your body. 3, 2, 1, go. Number 5. One more after this. 10, 12, 13, 14. Release your nose. Allow the air to enter your nose as gently as you can, carrying that nitric oxide into your lungs, redistributing the blood to the entire surface of the lung, opening those airways. 3, 2, 1. Last one. Go. "13, 14, release your nose, a slow breath in, a relaxed breath out. That took us 3 minutes and 24 seconds. Now, very comfortably, take your thumb and just cover the flow of air. And now, what do you notice?
Wow. Wow, amazing. The flow is like so much more. It's like, ooh. Yeah, there's
So
a
the
huge
combination of carbon dioxide, holding my breath, my body produces CO2, it produces nitric oxide, and that works to open the sinuses. How do you feel?
Amazing, amazing. This is
Big
yeah,
change, right? You can
wow.
feel it like that. So anytime you have a blocked nose, number one, think about what you ate before that. Because if your nose is congested, it's because of what you ate. Or you could also have irregular breathing mechanics, but it's usually food related. And then when it is stuffed, do this 6 times and you'll open right up. And you could do it every hour because it'll really help if you do it every hour. So I just gave you 3 breathing techniques today. Breathing light, cadence breathing, 4 in and 6 out, and then how to unblock your nose, which is a breath retention exercise. So now everybody can have those breathing techniques. You could do them in a row or you could do them separately.
Wow.
amazing.
Wow, you gave so much. Oh my God.
So grateful. It's
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Breathing should be free. It's almost a tragedy that I have to charge people money to work with me, but that's the world we live in. But it's free. It's on your face. It's free. The air is free. We shouldn't have to charge for that.
I
But
know, I know. I know we also are health coaches as well, and helping people with diet and weight loss. And it's for us also, like, I mean, what I learned also, one thing is that people don't value things when they're for free, kind of like, in the
that's
society,
true. It's
So like
true.
only when you charge people, then they're like, okay, now I have to be serious about it.
Very true. I have a lot of friends who I gave my breathing program to for free and they never did it. And I'm like, I knew it. It's true. Every time you give it away, they don't do it.
Yeah, correct.
Because then they invest a little bit from their side and then they kind of value. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's the very beautiful dynamics to learn how to like economics, and then you want to give as well and you want to receive, and this like new dynamics of money that has come in our reality of life. It's very interesting. We're also kind of like
I've heard
learn.
there's cities turning up in India where they're working purely on bartering systems,
Yeah.
where they're not transferring money at all.
The Auroville, it was there, and then but then they are doing money still. They couldn't like they started with this idea and then it couldn't like work out. So I don't really know any place. Maybe there are some villages, but they're also involved now in businesses. Yeah, and I think it's a beautiful. I would say it's just like another experience of consciousness where we can also see money as so sacred, and it's just universe gives when we serve. And I'm sure you have experienced that. I can feel it in your energy how you're so willing to give. So I'm sure receiving, you're also like receiving in the same way because you're serving so beautifully
Right.
your purpose. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe a last question. I mean, it's already quite a bit of time that we took, but then
What time is it for you? It's only
it's
2 o'clock in the afternoon for me, but what time is it for you?
it's 11:30 actually. Usually we sleep, but your presence is
Okay.
amazing.
Okay.
We are inspired. I've already expanded a lot through this conversation. So and also I'm sure it's going to be really amazing for people to like get your energy and wisdom, anyone who comes to the channel. So the last question, and then we will leave you for your day. So maybe we could learn more about like your sleep routine. Yeah.
Okay. I'll show you.
Yeah. Yeah, this is good. You want to ask anything? Good.
That was the
So
question to ask.
because I was born and not suckled, I have, my jaw muscles aren't as formed as they should be. So when I fall asleep, if I lie down on my back, my mouth goes, and then I'll snore. Even though I have an open airway and I have a high bolt score, I'll still snore. So I take this 3M paper tape, I kiss my wife, and then I go,
Wow.
mm-hmm.
That is how I sleep.
Yeah, that's what I said. And that's how I sleep. And I've been doing that for 5 years. I
Wow.
have to tape my mouth. But the first time you tape your mouth, like most people, a lot of people will say, I don't breathe through my mouth when I sleep. I go, how do you know? How do you know? Right? If you wake up with a dry mouth, your mouth is open at some point during your sleep. If you wake up and you don't feel rested, you're breathing through your mouth when you sleep. So it'd be hard for you because you have a really full beard, but there's tape called Dura, D-U-R, Pour, I think, that's for beards. There's definitely tape out there for beards, but everybody who tapes their mouth. So what I do is I fold the tape over. Now there are tapes too that go around the lips, so they push the lips together, so then people could still open their mouth. Because some people get afraid. Oh, what if I choke? But you're not going to choke. So I fold the tape over, and if your brain starts to sense that you can't breathe at night, you will pull the tape off. It just happens automatically. So people pull the tape off in the middle of the night. And then the more they do it, the less they pull it off. And then they start to feel, if you sleep with one, you make it through the first night, and you wake up, you go, wow, you feel immensely different, because it's imperative that you never open your mouth when you sleep, because then your oxygen levels could drop below 50%. And then that's a recipe for sleep apnea and asthma and COPD later in life anyway, things like that. So that's my sleep routine. I do this thing called white flower oil. It's a Chinese analgesic. I stick it in my nose, which I'm not going to show you right now because I have to go get it. But I would stick it in my nose, and then I put the tape on, I go to bed. So the white flower oil stimulates my limbic center to relax. It opens my sinuses, and I'm breathing very comfortably, very slowly, very lowly, very silently. And then I go to bed. And I only sleep like, I don't know, 5.5 hours, 6 hours a night. I've been up since 4:30. I went to bed at 10, but I feel great. I mean, like I woke up today and I was like, because I'm on this juice cleanse now, and I feel like tons of energy. So I meditated for an hour. Then I did my breath work. Then I worked out, but my working out isn't hard. And then by 7:30, I was already done with everything I needed to do. And I went for a beautiful walk with my wife. We went for a walk
Wow.
for an hour, and then I taught my classes. And then I'm here with you. And now I'm going to my chiropractor. And then I'm immediately going to my acupuncturist.
Wow. Wow. Amazing.
That's my
Amazing.
Wednesday.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Brian.
Have-
Yes.
From low battery.
My battery.
Perfect
Telling me
timing.
I have low
Yeah.
battery.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I am really impressed, and I'm very, very grateful for your energy, for your centered self, for your, broad chest, and the way
Uh,
you sit, your posture, and everything that you offer, the breath work and everything. I can read like superhuman on your t-shirt, and I wish, a lot of more
I got a little
super.
nose. It's a
Yo.
little nose.
Wow.
It's
Amazing.
on the back.
Yeah. Yes. quantumfitness.org, guys. Everyone go and check out his website and his channel on Instagram and YouTube as well. You're on YouTube as well, right?
I don't post a lot of videos on YouTube. I pretty much live on Instagram, and I'm trying TikTok now, but it's too
What all we
much.
have to do.
It's too much. Like I won't want to do, I have a nice engagement on Instagram, so it's breath_verse on Instagram, and
Yeah,
I can't do too much.
yeah.
I
You don't have to.
less
Don't have to
less
push.
stimulation, the better.
Yeah, effortless business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's why. Yeah, it's for business. But
Yes. Yeah.
well, I
Amazing.
really appreciate your beautiful energy and your time. Thank you so much. I know you've been up late, but now that you've gotten some breathing in, you're probably going to get a really good night's sleep, and I want to know about it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Definitely.
definitely. Thank you so much. Lots of love and good wishes. Please do connect with us when you come to India. It would be great. You can come visit us, stay with us, and I wish
Yes.
you all amazing, great energy. And yeah, so we will meet whenever we have to meet again. Lots of
Hopefully
love.
very
Yeah.
quickly in 2023. I'd really love to get out there. I'm going to try. I'm really going to try because I got to go to India. I really want to.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Come here if you enjoy some awesome fruits. There is jackfruits, mangoes, all kind of like local fruits that are growing here that you get more imported, and here this is like local from this area. So
Amazing. I will even admit that I love Indian food. So at some point, I have to have
Yeah.
Indian food, but it'll be vegetarian. But and or vegan. It has to be vegan, but I have to taste Indian food in India.
Yes, yes,
yeah, of course.
definitely.
I myself had made this some after doing my juice cleansing, 100-day juice cleansing and eating only raw food for like another like 4 or 5 months at that time. I also, when I came to India, was like, I need to eat some dosa. Probably heard about dosa, no?
Yeah, I mean, gotta try it. Got to.
Yes,
Got
definitely. Okay,
Awesome.
awesome. Lots of love, Brian, and then we wish you the best. And then we're sending the blessings from here from India, and
it.
yes, we hope you the best health, because I know we know that this is the one of the most important things for like for you and for us also is
For the
so
whole human species.
yes. So have the
Right.
best health and yeah, everything your heart desires.
Thank you so much for doing what you do. Yeah.
Peace
Bye
and
bye.
love.
Have a beautiful day. Yes.
You too. Thank you.